time. So, welcome to you all on this, wherever you are, morning in Amsterdam, but afternoon somewhere else, night maybe somewhere else still. So, very warm welcome to this webinar where we will discuss urban food security and particularly also the results of what we have done so far in the Feed for Food project. Feed for Food project, as you can see on the slide, a project funded by the European Union under the Horizon Europe program. So we are very happy that we can share some of our results, but also happy to uh, have some guests. So just a very brief plan for today. So I will kick off in a few minutes by just having a short presentation on our project, after which we move to Dr. Vlasia to tell us about the specifics in the Greek Living Lab. They use the native species there, so very much focusing also on the sustainability and the cultural appropriateness of what we are doing. Then we move to Cyprus, where we have a distinguished guest from the Johanno Foundation that presentation will show us how we engage with vulnerable groups because we have, as Feed for Food, a double or even triple objective. That is to be engaging also vulnerable groups to be sustainable socially, economically, and also environmentally. Now we move to the third city that the Feed for Food covers, which is Bucharest. Well, where Daniel will take us, both Daniels will take us into a more employee-focused presentation about the agricultural economy. So again, focusing on the different aspects of the project, economy, but also inclusiveness. After a short break, we will give the floor to a colleague of mine, also from the VU University. He's heading a separate project, a very much aligned project called Food City Boost. So again, talking about assessing urban agricultural systems. And then we end the series of presentations with again going back to Cyprus, but really looking at the way that we view within the project also the way we learn, because there are also very innovative ways of learning going on in our living labs, and we will be taken through that because by really teachers that have been associated with the Cyprus team. We will end with a panel discussion. How can we move forward? How can we scale these inclusive and sustainable urban practices? So I will just try to maintain, at least at the beginning, the time schedule by giving you a brief intro about the project Feed for Food. Of course, it's a bit preaching to the converted about why urban food security matters. We see a lot of, let's say, themes coming up. First is that we see that food insecurity is rising also in European cities, and particularly that is true for vulnerable populations. Vulnerable populations may include refugees, may include the elderly, may include people with mental or physical disabilities, and all of those populations have been threatened by an increasing, let's say, organization of food security that is not inclusive enough to really reach all those populations. At the same time, we see other trends. We see climate extremes that intensify. Particularly in cities, we see more people suffering from heat stress. We have the development of what is known as heat islands because of all the stone in the city. The cities are heating up much more than the surrounding areas. And water scarcity becomes more pressing. The availability of fresh water in cities, but also outside to cultivate sufficient and good food. So we position Feed for Food as a resilience strategy. Resilience in many ways, nutritionally, we want to provide good food to people living in cities, also to vulnerable populations, but also environmentally resilient. How can we shorten the food chain? During COVID, we became acutely aware about the large and the long food chains that were developing, have developed over the past decades that turned out to be a very hampering factor when all the lockdowns took effect. So really also trying to shorten the food chains, reduce emissions, and focus on regenerative agriculture to also be, in that sense, environmentally sustainable. Socially sustainable by reinvigorating or invigorating the social fabric. So what is Feed for Food? So like I said, it's funded by the EU under the Driving Urban Transition framework, and the purpose is to, in general, support transnational research to help cities in their transition towards more sustainable economy and functioning. Within driving urban transitions, there are three challenges and grouped into three pathways, and one of them is circular urban economies. And our project is really firmly established within that queue because we aim to really support planning and design of an inclusive urban space, namely an inclusive urban agricultural space. And we work in Strovolos, that is Cyprus, in Drama, Thessaloniki, Greece, and in Bucharest in Romania. So the project has three pillars. We will hear a lot about the living labs. I will tell you a little bit about the Central Knowledge and Learning Hub located here at the Vrije Universiteit. And we have a very clear transition strategy. Like I said in the beginning, we have multiple foci. We have the inclusion of vulnerable populations, and we have sustainability in an environmental, social, and economic terms. So we strive for circularity, culturally appropriateness of the seeds we use, of what we cultivate, and even how we learn. And we also are striving for a business case after the project has ended. Another focus is really to empower people to flow out of the living lab. So when vulnerable populations come in, we hope that they also can leave, not being a vulnerable population anymore, but seen by others as really valuable members of society, but also view themselves as valuable members of society. Finally, we also want to generate learning experiences across the Living Lab and from our project to other initiatives, and that is done through a dashboard. I will not say a lot about the Living Labs because we have specific presentation on this. Suffice to say that they act as real-life testbeds for social innovation. The Feed for Food project is not so much about technological innovation, but it is a lot about social innovation. How can we develop urban agriculture in a way that really meets all these goals? And a lot comes down to how to include vulnerable populations, how to ensure that you are indeed also culturally appropriate. All living labs are co-designed with respected communities. All test specific agroecological practices. Not all do everything, of course. So water efficiency is more of a point maybe in Cyprus than in Bucharest, use of indigenous seeds more in Greece than anywhere else, and maybe the tools to link producers and consumers more in Bucharest than in the others. All aim also specifically to include vulnerable groups, but again, the groups differ between the cities. The Central Knowledge and Learning Hub is a central data platform. So the dashboard is capturing KPIs, key performance indicators, that were developed in a very bottom-up inclusive process, including the agreement on what type of metrics and data to collect, and it turns back the visualizations tailored to different user groups. So we have visualizations for gardeners or living lab participants, visualizations for management, and access to the data for researchers. The Central Knowledge Hub also includes models to assess sustainability and resilience, such as the life cycle analysis and the business models, and also tools to scale. So the site selection tool and landscape modeling to assess how the system at one point starts to react when you're really scaling to larger scales than just pilots. Finally, we talk about transition pathways. And from the beginning, we thought it was very important to think and plan beyond the project. So learning what works in the living labs, then to see how we can scale using the Central Knowledge and Learning Hub, and also co-learning, co-mentoring to empower people to continue on their own. So in this sense, the three pillars really work together to also ensure that we have an impact beyond the project itself. What have we achieved so far? Quite a lot. In Strovolos, the site was a new site that had to be prepared. That's being done. The harvest has been in the first harvest, and there's a second planting cycle ongoing. Schools are involved. We will hear more about that later. In Drama, the rehabilitation of the site is underway. Home gardens have been established, and there was a workshop also organized. In Bucharest, contacts with peri-urban farmers have been established. There's a tool under development for peer-to-peer contacts, and there's a lot of research done into water use and water requirements. Overall, the project has achieved scientific publications, and also we are involved as editors of the special issue in Frontiers in Sustainable Food Systems. Outreach is very active. We have a very active website, active social media presence, and a lot of participation in conferences and webinars and DUT events, and quite a lot of open days for the local communities. So concluding, as you will see, hopefully, Feed for Food demonstrates that urban agriculture can really achieve a lot of goals by being a social infrastructure. So improving food access, strengthening resilience, support circularity, empower vulnerable groups, and provide actionable data. So thank you very much. I wish you a very fruitful rest of the conference. And this is all the contact info. I will stop sharing now and give back to Vasilis.
Thank you very much, Leah, for the introduction of the agenda and of the project. I invite Dr. Valasia Iakovoglu from Demokritos University in Greece to present about native species from seed to seedlings. Valasia.
Thank you very much, Vasily, for the introduction. Give me a second so I can get into my files. The presentation of Leah was very descriptive and very analyzed about the progress and everything. Please inform me if there's a problem with the animation. Okay, so hopefully. Do you see the movement?
Yes,
okay, great.
It's fine.
This is great. So let me minimize a little bit this so you won't have to see that. Well, good morning from my part here as well. It's really great pleasure being here and presenting urban gardening and native species from seed to seedling. So we will provide information about, the whereabouts of, for the Greek part and what is going on in our area, but also some additional information that hopefully it will be useful to everybody to use when practicing gardening and particularly urban gardening. So as a roadmap, I will start a little bit with the background information. I will analyze why native plant species are ideal for the urban environment, and then get a little bit into the seed selection and preparation, which is a very important step in order to get the proper plant material for the gardening. Give some examples for the Greek species, fairly short, and then, of course, getting into the specific details about the living labs that is going on, particularly in Drama. But of course, as Elia said, we have in Strovolos and also in Bucharest this coming up. We did hear about the urbanization and what is going on, but we can see and specifically indicate that 76% of the EU population, they live in the cities. So we do have this heat island effect, and of course there are some health risks, and not only to this particular settings. So urbanization is increasing. the European Union provides some alternatives that they're dealing with increasing the greening in the areas that we live in the cities. So we have the roofings and, of course, the rain gardens, the parks that we have within the cities. And of course, we also introduced the urban gardening, which is very important part of the circular economy. The transition that we are facing right now, and many cities they are introducing this term. So we have the urban agriculture, where we have all this taking place, including the nature-based solutions as well. You know, all that this aligns with the SDGs in order to fight for climate change, the urbanization, and of course the food security regarding the people that they live at those sites. Looking at the SDGs, at least from what we talked about, we have 7 out of the 17 goals being covered just by the urban agriculture, the urban gardening. So this is very important to see what is going on and why should we really use native species. This is the main question that is posing here for this urban gardening. And we do know that in these urban settings, we're facing quite a few difficulties. When we're planning, we do have these heat islands. The soils are a little bit different. The microclimate is different. So when we are establishing gardens at those sites, we might facing some difficulties, including, of course, the watering challenges for those ecosystems. So let's get the example for the Greek ecosystem and how do natives thrive at those areas. We do know that we have arid environments, droughts, intense sunlight. If you come here now in Greece, yesterday it rained, but today is very sunny and hot. And as summer progresses, this gets even more intense. So we have this urban environment. So the water efficiency and the maintenance are very important. And when you do have this Greek native species, they are well acquainted with this all microenvironment and the difficulties that they are posing at those ecosystems. So they are very well equipped in order to be able to overcome those difficulties. Native plants, of course, they are more resilient to any kind of local pests and diseases. So with this, they are maintained viability, while at the same time, the use of pesticides, they are less. And of course, the overall maintenance activities required for those areas. Benefits, many. We do have the support of the local pollinators. We have here the bees, the birds. They're introducing, all this interesting coloring at the urban settings, biodiversity, the cultural value that we're adding that reflects the heritage for all the sites, and of course the climate resilience and the cultural value that it added there. So native plants, they stabilize the soil, they provide more moderate temperatures of those ecosystems, and overall more stable situation, not just for the plants, but also for the humans. So how can we actually enhance this production by using the urban gardening? First, we have to start with the seed selection and then how we can really prepare those seeds. Based on what we know, it's very important to select high quality native seeds from the areas that we want to do the gardening. So this one induces the increase of the germination rate. Of course, the seedlings, they are stronger and more successful to the gardening, as well as, to the fitness and the storage. We need to have fresh seeds in order to increase the viability, in order to increase the success and have the final outcome that is the product that we get from those gardens. Ethical and sustainable seed collection. We have here the botanical garden where we can get the sources, but also not to forget some local markets that they are introducing there. We're trying to get science into those gardening. This is some research that has been taking in the place of drama. So the source of the seeds is very important. Here, what it's been trying to indicate is the effect of the altitudinal on the seedling performance. So where we get the seeds is very important, and we can see the results from the diagrams. Let's get now into a little bit, once we have the seeds, how we can prepare those seeds and what kind of techniques we're using. So we're getting the seeds. One of the things based on the type of the seed to do the scarification. This is the gentle weakening of the coat, but also the seeds, they're sleeping, they're into a dormancy kind of level. So this one is something that it's been done in the nature. So with the birds, with the watering, everything, softening the coat. This is what we try actually to do at the lab. We try to mimic nature in order to speed up a little bit the procedure and get those seeds keep going and getting the seedlings. We have some sulfuric acid here, some other equipment to softening the hardening, and some other species, they need to go under cold stratification in order to overcome this dormancy kind of level. So winter time really gives that. But at the lab, we can't wait for winter and snow. And with climate change, sometimes this one really poses some difficulties getting those cold temperatures. So at the lab, we have the refrigerators in order to put them there, store them properly, and get them ready for springtime in order to get the seedlings. This is not just for the Mediterranean ecosystems, of course. It's something that it can be used worldwide. And sometimes we don't have to do cold certification. Just by soaking the seeds, depends on the species, then we are ready to do that. Here are the experiments that we were doing. This is a Platanus orientalis, something that it's been used worldwide in Greece. But of course, this can be done at the nurseries. So this is why they have the plantings outside. They are cold stratified. The seeds, by placing them there and exposing them to the air temperatures that we have. Nonetheless, some of those seeds, they are facing other problems. They have the cold stratification, so they need to do both. Here we have a species that requires both requirements. Watering, though, is very important. Some of the experiments that we have conducted, they showed that sometimes not watering enough is good. So here at the red circle, you can see that just one watering for this specific species was enough to maintain viability, but at the same time produce seedlings that they are able to thrive when transplanting. So this is information that we're using. In Greece, we have a great variety, not only in Greece, all, Mediterranean ecosystems, they have this ability. So we have a number of aromatic native herbs, flowering native plants that they also drought tolerant, that they can take into that, edible native greens that we have in our gardens, and we have a great list of those. But not to forget some species that they are small trees like the arbutus, cornus, and of course corylus, that they are providing also some very good native species for gardening in the area. So with this in mind, we're getting into the living labs of drama. As Leah already covered, we have the group targeting are women, dropped out youth, and migrants. And with this, we use a native species in order to introduce that. This is not just drama, but also Strovolos and Bulgaresti. They have that area in Cyprus and Bulgaria, their own target groups. But for Greece, this is part of the northern part. We do have the gardens here, the population of the area, and the size of the gardens that we picked. We've done great progress. Sometimes we had difficulty at the beginning, but now we are ahead and we're progressing with the planting, and all this is fairly, the picture at the left is fairly new. On the right is last year's production. So we did have this kind of lay guidance, what kind of species to do that. And this is very helpful, particularly when we're conducting the workshops in order to inform what species they can plant during the year, throughout the year. Yes, we did have the outcome, the peppers, the tomatoes, the zucchini, and not only, we had a great variety of those species, and of course the KPIs that we used. Leah informed us about this, but after the KPIs, it's also entering the data. What's next? There's always the next step, and it's been introduced. Data have been entered there, and we are very happy to inform that it's going everything very well. We're getting ready for next year's production, so this is good news. What else? Is there something else? Of course, is the most important thing. One of the most important things is the dissemination. We did have the opportunity to take place, reaching sometimes people that they are key for the political part, and taking decisions is very important. Here is in Belgium, under the premises of Princes and the Prince. So informing about what we're doing here at this project was really great pleasure. Workshops, of course, but also conferences, being invited. It was a great pleasure. This is not just me. This is the whole team taking place. And of course, the newsletters, the websites, the events that everybody can be informed. And this has also been provided by Leah, the Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and all that information. With this, I didn't take more time within the time frames of my presentation. I will be more than happy to answer questions. And this is the progress that we had for the Greeks.
Thank you very much, Valasia, for the very interesting presentation about the native seeds and the work in drama. There is one question in the chat from Leah, and I will read it to you. Is there a need to re-educate the urban population in preparing the native species? Are they more difficult to prepare?
Well, it's not a matter of, thank you, Leah, for the question. It's not a matter of if they're more difficult to prepare or not. But this is knowledge that can be applied in any kind of ecosystem. But for the Greeks, because they were dealing with arid ecosystems, sometimes the dormancy levels, they're a little bit more intense. Getting to even deserty kind of ecosystems, this is even more intense. So yes, it is information that sometimes people, they're not aware of that. What is usually the practice is taking the plants and also, go and transplant them, but they're not aware about the whole procedure until they actually take the plants into their hands. What is going on behind that? This is information that if they know that and they are informed, that's why we have we're planning a workshop on this, covering this part, and also with a networking of Greece that they're dealing with native species, how they can really take those seeds and whatever, if they like them, so they can produce their own plants and they can put them in their garden. Very important information. So I don't know if that answers your question. So yes.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, thank you. I have this exciting thing that came up for me as you were speaking about the preparation of the seeds from a pedagogical perspective. I was observing, as part of my research for the work that we will present later, I was observing a lady from Greece in Cyprus, and she was giving a workshop to teenagers and she comes from the biodynamic tradition, and part of what she did, she started with this ritual of placing the seed under our tongue, which of course may have to do with scarification and preparation and also the enzymes but the way she conveyed it was as a starting ritual that is about also intention and the relationship, and it was really beautiful and very well received by the children. And this kind of it launched me into research. Or is this scientifically justified, and it's such an interesting field because it combines, of course, everything, the traditions and the rituals and the science about the preparation of the seeds. And anyway, so I wanted to share that and also ask if you came across something like that, if it is part of a tradition that has carried through in your area.
Are you referring to transferring the information to younger audience or research-wise?
The human, yeah, yeah, I don't know, in general, like the human habit of putting the seed under the tongue or in the mouth
Okay.
to kind of process it before planting, if it's something that exists.
Now, this is a very pedagogical kind of way to introduce what is going on when everything is digested in order to break any dormancy that is taking place at the coat of the seed. So showing that to the kids, it really shows, what the birds are doing, but it's not just being part in the mouth, but it's also from the whole procedure, from the digestive system that we have. That's why usually research takes place at the poops, because the poops that they are the ending point. And I think this is what you wanted to show, that it's not just the enzymes in the mouth, but it's the whole procedure that a seed needs to go through in order to kind of break the hardness of the coat, but not just to break the hardness of the coat, but also introducing enzymes that they wake up the seed. So it's very important. Sometimes it's done by food, sometimes by low temperatures, and sometimes this one is very important based on the duration. So we've done experiments like that, indicating, that's why I had the sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid, it was applied mainly for legumes, because legumes, they have a very hard coat. And usually species at the Mediterranean ecosystems, but also at the desert environments, they do have this kind of induced dormancy. So chemically, we can't wait for years for this code to be done, speed up a little bit the procedure. So it's good thing. Thank you very much for pointing that out, because the people, they're not aware of how they can really work with the seeds and get their own seedlings. It's very beautiful. I've done this also for middle school and for kids, showing them, this knowledge really has to be adjusted at the level of the students. So in order to understand, putting in the mouth, it was a very good thing. I might use it as well to introduce the topic. So thank you very much about bringing that up.
Thank you very much. There will be time for further discussion in the panel discussion at the end. Now we are moving to our next presentation. It is going to be from Despina Pizzili from the Christos and Stelios Ioannou Foundation. The title of the presentation is Engaging Vulnerable Groups in Urban Agriculture Activities. Ioannou Foundation is a great supporter of the Fit for Food projects, and we have a very close collaboration in transferring their knowledge to the newly developed space in Acropolis Park in Strovolos. Despina, thank you very much. And
thank you, Vasily.
can
Hello,
start.
everyone. And thank you for inviting me to be part of this panel. Let me start by sharing my screen first to get the presentation going. Again here. So I am hoping and guessing that you can see my presentation, right? Yes. Okay, good. So
we see, sorry, Despina, we see the slides. If you make it full screen,
yes,
it will be better.
I'll give it one more try. Just give me 1 second. I usually work with Teams, and that's why I think maybe now it will work. You see it now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay,
Yes,
great.
thank you.
All right. Good. Hello again, everyone. It's good to be part of this panel discussion, and it's an honor for me to be here and present the work we do at Christos Ioannou Foundation. My name is Despina Pitsili. I'm the head of vocational rehabilitation programs at the foundation. And I will start by presenting in general what we do at the foundation, and then I will give specific attention to the agriculture part of our work. So, and I'm having technical issues already. So, the philosophy in which the foundation operates, first of all, before I go there, the foundation provides services to adults with intellectual disabilities. We have about 200 adults with intellectual disabilities enrolled in our programs. In our different services that we will see which services we offer later on. And to be enrolled in the foundation, the people have to have mild to moderate intellectual disability. And now the philosophy in which the foundation works is that we treat people with intellectual disabilities as people with needs, feelings, rights, abilities, interests, and obligations. Each person is treated uniquely and according to their own abilities and needs. Here we have a lot of services and programs that we offer to our trainees. We don't call them students because they're adults, so they're trainees because they're here to train in vocational rehabilitation. So the aim of our programs is to develop the capabilities of our trainees to the maximum extent possible, to create the appropriate conditions to prepare them for professional rehabilitation, to also prepare them for supported living, and to improve their quality of life in general, giving them opportunities for social inclusion. Now, the foundation is separated into these 4 services and programs. We have the admissions and education, the vocational rehabilitation training, the therapeutic and educational programs, and the boarding houses. We will see some of those in more detail. So the admissions service is the service where we get the newcomers. When people with disabilities finish their school, then they apply if they wish to join the foundation. It's the next step in their academic or vocational life. And this is where they start when they enroll the foundation. This is where we prepare them not only for the foundation, but also we prepare them for work, for being socially accepted in any social interaction outside the foundation through different programs that we have. So this group is our young trainees that we have in the foundation, coming right from the school age. The biggest service of the foundation is the vocational training and rehabilitation. Here you can see it is separated into 3 big categories. We have the creative workshops, we call them. We have 6 creative workshops and one basket making and 1 production assembly, where they do the more traditional chairs, stools, baskets, and all that. And then we have, we've created 4 social character enterprises. We have a bakery, a cafe, a lab that makes marmalades, jams, and the gardening, which we will talk in more detail later on. And then we also have the supported employment program. We will see all these in a little bit more detail in the next slides. Now, the creative workshops, we have 6 creative workshops, we said, and 2 the chair and the basket making. Here is to give our trainees an opportunity to do something more creative, to learn new techniques. Each of the workshops are working on different products. Because they are products, they work in the workshops, they prepare the products, and then we sell the products, and our trainees get paid for that work. So it's a first step of being in a job, but in a more secure and protective environment. And through those workshops, we assess their abilities and see who is ready and who wants to go into the open labor market with our support, of course. Now, when they're ready, when we see that someone is ready to go into the open labor market, we start with a trial employment program where they train in an actual job site, maybe a supermarket, maybe a factory that we collaborate with, and they work some hours, few days a week with the support of our job coaches. So they will prepare and learn how to behave in a real work condition. And then when we see they're ready to be on their own, then they move to the supported employment program where we find them jobs. We collaborate with about 40 companies around the Nicosia area. And we already have 65 of our trainees that are already employed in the open labor market. And they have their support through our job coaches whenever it's needed. Now, let's move on real quick to the social character enterprises. As I mentioned before, we have 4. We have a bakery. It's called Pesto με ένα γλυκό. In English means say it with a sweet. So that's the name of the bakery. At this point, there are 9 trainees that are working in the bakery with the support of an experienced pastry chef, and they are preparing orders for whoever wants to. I mean, it's an open bakery for anyone to order. We have a lot of weddings and baptisms that we're doing quite often. And then the second social character enterprise is a cafe. We open a cafe at the premises of the foundation. And right now we have 6 trainees that are trained to be barista assistant or waiters. And the cafe is open for the public until nighttime. And this is just giving an opportunity for people to come into the foundation to get to know us better, and our trainees to have a chance to learn how to be a barista and maybe get a job in a cafe outside the foundation someday. This is our newest social character enterprise, Jamello. It's from the word jam, and meli in Greek is honey. This just opened October of 2025, so it's just a few months. It's just now starting. This is they make jams, marmalades, and sweetened fruits. It's something that's very Greek, I think. And we train them for this job. Again, there is a pastry chef that is guiding and training these trainees here. And we collaborate with specific supermarkets where we sell our products. And now going to the 4th and the one that we will give more focus to. The Fresh and Bio for All is a social character enterprise in gardening. It established in 2022, and it started with the aim to provide training for gardener assistants. We have 9 trainees at this point in this gardening enterprise. And just a little note here that this enterprise started from another European project, not ours. It was an organization in Greece that they wanted to pilot test. They were doing about training people with disabilities to be gardener assistants, and they wanted to pilot train their findings and their educational tools to some stakeholders, let's say. So they contacted us, and we said, yeah, why not? And they really enjoyed the training. It was to see them in the fields, in the gardens, learning and doing all that work. it was really rewarding for us. So it gave us the idea to proceed and create this group, which was a gardening group at the beginning, and then it became an enterprise. And we'll see more about this enterprise in a while. Now, let me come to the topic of today's discussion: engaging vulnerable groups in urban agriculture activities, which is something that we do here at the foundation. And of course, I will speak through the Fresh and Bio for All enterprise, because that's where all this work is being done. So in the Fresh and Bio for All, there is preparatory work done at the premises that focuses not only on technical land use planning, but also on identifying agricultural tasks that are appropriate and inclusive for our trainees. Some tasks are nursery work, planting, harvesting, seed saving, basic soil care, and post-harvest handling. And just some examples and pictures, because I think a picture says a lot of the words. Here, this is our greenhouse that we have here at the premises of the foundation. And our trainees here are in charge of planting, nurturing the seedling, maintaining growing conditions, and also selling the products. So we went a step beyond into the sales part of it. In our greenhouses, we have vegetables like cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, zucchini, eggplants, but we also have the leafy greens like lettuce, parsley, coriander, and so on. And other than the greenhouse, they take care of the foundation's gardens and the upkeeping, watering the plants. And we also have some orchards, fruit orchards in the foundation. So it's their job to pick the fruit and take care of the plant and all that. And we have a lot of olive trees, both at the premises of the foundation, but we also have another field in the center of Nicosia that we are in charge of taking care of it. So we have a lot of olives. And so our trainees are involved in the whole process of the harvesting and then the picking up of the olives and then taking it to the, I'm sorry, I'm not sure if the English word is not distillery, is it?
It is an olive mill.
Olive mill. Sorry about that. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So they take it to the olive mill, they go through the whole process, and then the olive oil comes back to the foundation, and we put it in the bottles, and we sell it. So they're quite familiar with the whole process of from the olive tree to the bottle of the olive oil. Now, just in general, some technical skills that are being developed through the gardening for people with intellectual disabilities. It's planting, watering, composting, harvesting, and use of tools. Now, these are just general terms. Each of these is broken down into smaller steps. So depending on the ability of each of our trainees, it's broken into different smaller steps so they can all be able to try them all and go from the one point to the other. And of course, other than the technical skills, gardening gives us life skills as well. I chose responsibility. They're responsible for the life of the plant, of the tree. Teamwork, they have to work together in order to be able to get the good result. Time management, of course, have to know that, I have to pick the fruit up at this period because after that it will just not be good. Problem solving, like wondering what to do with the pest infestation and all that, and communication, and that comes more to the sales part of the gardening procedure. Changing a bit not changing the subject, just to add that Our techniques that we use here in the gardening of the foundation are regenerative techniques. All our products are biological. We don't use any chemicals, and we try to be to use all the regenerative techniques that we've learned through some other projects. So the impact on people with intellectual disabilities. So through this enterprise here, the Fresh and Bio for All enterprise, our trainees have developed practical agricultural skills. They have increased self-confidence and independence. They have strengthened teamwork and communication. They've experienced meaningful participation in food production. They improve readiness for vocational opportunities, and they contribute to a more inclusive and sustainable community, which is very important, especially the last part is very important for us. And just finishing with a nice way to close this presentation. Growing is more than food. Urban agriculture is not only about growing food, it is about growing confidence, skills, and social inclusion. So this is my presentation, short and sweet, as we say. I don't know if you have any questions now, or maybe we can leave the questions for the end of the panel. I know I finished a bit sooner than I was supposed to.
Thank you very much, Vespina, for the very inspiring presentation of the work that you are implementing in the foundation. There is one question in the chat, and we have time for other questions if there are from the audience. It is from Leah. Is there government support for the companies that hire your trainees?
Yes and no. So our government doesn't give support to the employers. It's more of, you know, on their, I don't like to use, but I will, on their good heart to hire a person with disabilities. Of course, there is another initiative that helps, is that they work part-time usually, so that's less payment that they have to give to those employees. Because there is an issue of, if they work full-time, they would lose their pension, their disability pension. So they usually prefer to just work part-time so they have the safety of their pension. Of course, this is changing now. The new strategy, the disability strategy in Cyprus that was voted, would change this, and the pension will stay safe if it's voted by the parliament. So that would be good. But no, there's not any payment from the government, support from the government to the employers. It's up to us to knock on doors and, you know, talk to people, and yeah. And we of course, we are always there to support the employers as well, whenever needed, when they're hiring our employees, yes.
Thank you. Because the reason I ask is that in the Netherlands, when you hire as a company a person with a disability, you get a subsidy to essentially compensate for the lower productivity, you can say. But so yeah, very impressive that you have so many companies that are willing to employ people, like you said, from their good heart. Oh,
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Another question from Valasia is, in what extent you use fruit trees for the produced products? What is the percentage of the produce that you use in other activities that you mentioned, like jams, like sweets, like...
So we have, apart from the olive trees, we have another field in the center of Nicosia that we are in charge of, that has citrus fruits, oranges, lemons, tangerines, and those fruits go to the other social enterprise, Gemello, and they're used to become sweetened fruits or jams or marmalades. Of course, that's only those fruits that we have. So for Jamelo to work, we have to buy the rest of the fruits from other producers like strawberries and cherries and all that. Have I answered?
So
Yeah.
yes, so the main activity for the students that they are associated is to collect, not to participate in the actual producing
It's
the
yeah,
jam.
because they're two different enterprises. And they collaborate together. So the Fresh and Bio for All, the gardening enterprise, is the one that is in charge of taking care of the trees and collecting the fruit. And then they sell it to the other enterprise that create the jams and the sweetened fruit.
Good,
So
good.
they both have profits and expenses that we have to show. So they work like different companies, actually.
Good collaboration, yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Despina? Maybe it is a good idea in our meeting in September, we can come and participate in one of your workshops.
Yes, you are coming to Cyprus in September?
Yes, the meeting that was postponed, it will be
so yes,
scheduled for the end of September. So
we're here
keep us in mind.
Our doors are open for you to to come and visit, and we'll show you everything.
Thank you. I have one additional comment related to the activities of Feed for Food. We have a very rich database from the Ioannou Foundation about the production methods that you follow, the inputs that you follow, and we are using it to develop our dashboard. And the other thing is that recently you had a very nice regenerative festival, the first in Cyprus, Regenerative Agriculture Festival, and you also have the school. Dimitris is here, I think, in collaboration with Case Research Center about regenerative agriculture, which are also very important for what we are trying to do.
Yes.
Yes, indeed, Vasily, let me add and also my congratulations to Despina for her presentation. And we've gone many steps further than just producing vegetables. We're trying to make, let's say, more of a movement out of the regenerative vegetable production procedure. Okay, so there are lots of people that got together. We had support from another organization, and we produced the first regenerative agriculture festival in Cyprus, and it was held at the Christos Ioannou Foundation. And many producers that were focused on regenerative agriculture got together. And the message was that this needs to be continued and need to be supported and grow even larger.
Yes. It was really a very good, was a very successful, I think, festival, and people kept saying, "We need to have another one. You need to have it every year." So, yeah.
Thank you very much. Sorry.
Superfood also supported this, so this is an added value.
Yeah,
it should become a theme, so everybody will know about it.
Yeah,
we will try. Yes.
Thank you very much, Despina.
Thank you.
We are moving to the next presentation from University of Bucharest, and the title is Perspective on the Evolution of Turnover and Employees in the Agricultural Economy of the Bucharest Ilfov Development Region. Daniel,
Thank you, Vasilis. Yes, I want to present another type of analysis, this economical view of agriculture in study area. One moment to
yeah, you can share your screen.
share the screen. It's okay.
We don't see the full screen, but
One
if you-
moment,
yeah.
my laptop is to screen, and I have a little problem.
Cum dorești? Ce dorești?
Să-l fac să vadă mare.
Vrei...
Full screen.
Daniel, it's also showing your next slide.
Yeah,
One
maybe
second.
try to share full screen and
Yeah, it's okay now?
yes, thank you.
Perfect. Okay, I make with my team one analysis and a long time for the Bucharest Ilfov is the our region near to Bucharest. Here I have the agriculture for 2 million people to live in Bucharest. It's the same many farms, small or big. In the same times, it's the challenge with the economic system evolution. In Romania, is influence with the urban markets, the governance regime, and the imports the food from another countries. I want to view some index for representative activity. What is the contribution of urban agriculture to local GDP, turnover, or profit? In the same times to compare it with the service sector or the creative industry. Of course, the literature, the economic literature in this field is very important in the same times for this point of view. This is the study area, yes, the Bucharest in the plain, and Ilfov is around of this main town, the Bucharest. I have 8 cities, 32 towns, and 91 villages in this area. The number of the population is important. In the same times, is necessary many quantity of fresh food. The time of the analysis is the 24 years. I consider is the good database for this analysis. The main indicators is the annual turnover, the share of agriculture turnover in this regional economy, of course the arithmetic mean, the standard deviation and the coefficient of variation of these data. In the same times, I use the global Moran index and the local Moran index, the same, for identification of spatial clusters. Yeah, and here is the present high, high, low, low, and high, low, and low, high situation. And the first time, the agricultural turnover in this area is clear upward trend, but this trend in the same times is identification different phases, fluctuation. Of course, this fluctuation is generated by the economical crisis, sanitation, or economical decision, political decision. But the general trend is the grow up. Of course, the value maybe is important or not. The trend is very important for us. In the turnover value is 6.5 billion euros in the 2024. But in the contrast, the percentage of total turnover in the Bucharest Ilfov, I observed another trend. Is not very high, but is important. The percentage is now under 3%, and another times is more 7, 8, or 9%. In this case, the trend is downward. Regional or spatial distribution of cumulative turnover in these times in the agriculture sector is different by every small areas. Here in this maps is all the small locality, 41, but it's different activities. Agriculture is main or not activities field. And in this case, see the different value. After 5 billion euro in the center, in the Bucharest town, is strange maybe, but many agricultural company, have the principal point in Bucharest, not in the outside of Bucharest, in the area with the agriculture. Of course, the Bucharest is the principal market for the products, but it's important to remark this special distribution. I have, I don't know, it's very important for you, the name of these localities, but it's important to view this general distribution. The same, the coefficient of the variation for turnover is important. Of course, it's important the management of the farmers, the decision, and the economic value of the sales in this market. The same for each region, each locality. Here is the graphics with the cumulative turnover or the coefficient of variation in this time periods. For Morans and Lisa index, I have the scatter plot and maps with the results. It's very important to identify this, I don't know, the clusters type and the correlation with the another economical indicators. And this results confirms the volatility of the agriculture turnover. This is very important. And in the same times, the influence by common territorial factors. It's important the infrastructures, the supply chains, and of course the variability of the climate factors. For the Lisa analysis, the same, the spatial gradient of the economic stability is structured in the relation to proximity to Bucharest city. In conclusion, the study highlights the fact the agriculture economy of this area is undergoing a continued process of the transformation marked by the interaction between urban dynamics and the agricultural sector adaptation to the market's demands. The analysis confirms a long-term upward trend in turnover, accompanied by the decline in this relative importance of the agricultures, reflecting the restructuring of the regional economy toward the tertiary activities. Oh, excuse me for my English is not very good. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Daniel, for the very interesting presentation. There are some questions in the chat. The first is, if this increase in turnover is mainly caused by large companies or small family companies?
The field is very, very small space. In this case, it's little farms, yes, not very big farms. In this case, it's many difference of the product, of the price of the product. In this case, the turnover is different and the profit is different for these little farmers.
Mhm. Another question from Leah is that many countries struggle with an increasing age of the farmers. Is this a problem also in Bucharest, the aging of the farmers, and how could the Feed for Food project help on this in the area?
Yes, the project identify this age of the people to work in this field. Yes, many people is after over 14 years. The young people is not attracting this in this field, but in the same times is uh, educational school in this agriculture's field, and now the young people learn to use the machinery, modern machinery with the GPS, with automatic or AI use in this field, and I hope the agriculture is many or more attractivity for the young people. Yes, it's interesting to see after I don't know 5 or more years, many young people involved in this activity.
And another question from me, the production there in the Bucharest area, the agricultural production, goes to feed the city or goes for exports?
No,
And what types of products, what are the main types of products?
the main for is for the local market. Here is the supermarkets to make the contracts with these farmers and buy the product and resell in Bucharest. Another supermarkets accords the money for the new field, new products, and in this help the little family, the small farmers to uh, use the field, the terrain, and in the same times buy the products. Yeah, not for the export is not many quantity or I don't know products to sell in another countries.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Are there any other questions for Daniel? If there are no other questions, we have some time, and there was a small issue with the presentation from the primary school. So I would like to ask Christaleni if there is a possibility to do the last presentation now before the break. Christaleni?
Yes, hello. Oh, sorry about that. Apologies, I'm on multiple devices because of a technical complication. I can do it. Of course, it's so much more exciting with the teachers. But
No,
if you need me, I can do it.
If there is the possibility, we can have a 5 minutes break, and you can ask if the teachers can join us now, because I know that there might be an issue.
I will message them immediately. So I messaged that I am starting it. because I can do the context is it's my part to introduce, and I hope they can join. Or is that okay? What would you prefer? Shall I begin and they join whenever they can, or would
I
you?
think we can give it a few minutes. We can make a 5 minutes break, so you can see if there is this possibility. We
Okay,
can
on it.
wait. So
Sure.
we can have our break now for 5-10 minutes and then continue.
So we
I don't,
continue at half past then, right?
yes, I don't know if Pierre is here already and he agrees.
I don't see him yet, I think, in the participants.
Okay, but I think we can use the time if Kristaleni can communicate with Stalo and Katerina. We can have 10 minutes break and continue 12:30. Thank you. Okay, we are back. I see Katerina, I see Kristaleni. We are waiting for Stalo, I guess. And we are ready for our next presentation. From Dr. Kristaleni Loizidou from KES Research Center, Dr. Christal Antoniou and Katerina Televandou. They are teachers in Apostolos Varnavas Primary School in Strovolos, and they had prepared a presentation. It was a very nice and amazing experience working with the students, and I will give them the floor for the presentation.
I don't want to say too much because this really is about the teachers, right? The pedagogues. And even though I consider myself one of them, I just want to bring in the fact that the outreach, a part of the Strovolos Living Lab effort is bigger than this specific collaboration with this specific school, because we have been also organizing open days and other kinds of events and afternoon things. And of course, we have also been exchanging with our own many other programs. But this one is especially meaningful. And I want to kind of bring to your attention how a significant engaging with the, I would say, conventional mainstream education system is for ensuring the sustainability of the program. This is something that also and the Living Lab, and also, of course, the dissemination of these ideas. And this is something that Strovolos municipality has emphasized, that they have, this is their vision. They see this as an educational space, a space for communal collective learning primarily. And this is a vision that pre-existed the collaboration with the Living Lab, and it's actually, there is a lot of wisdom in this. So I want to basically just also let you know that we closed the let's say this chapter with the with this program, with this pilot educational program 2 days ago. So this is rough and spontaneous, this presentation, and there is so much material that we have yet to digest. This is us. We really enjoyed it. This is both classes that were coming. You will hear more about the structure of it. So really, I think the question that I should begin with is two questions. So how often do children in conventional schools, in conventional learning environments, how often do they get to learn directly from the living world and from, this kind of very rooted definition of, right, life? How often do they get to do this? In Cyprus, it's not very often. And also, okay, I will leave it there because I should not take a lot more time. I want to mention again, I already mentioned the context, and I love this photo because it shows that this is a board, a sheet of paper on a board in a greenhouse. So we are kind of developing this education. We are working towards this authentic connection and authentic kind of pedagogy and engagement with the living world, but we're doing it within the context that is kind of already structured, institutional, limited. It's part of a park. So we are creating a regenerative approach to learning, but we're doing it within the structures, and we're doing this lovingly and openly. And of course, I should mention that this is informed by many different pedagogic traditions. You will hear about the kinds of expertise that are brought by Katerina and Stalo. You will hear from them directly. You will hear about the inspiration that comes from the permaculture movement and the principles of this. So the idea of observation is very powerful. The slowness and the slow developmental approach to observe, that we encourage the children to observe, but we also observe ourselves and the children and the space, and we proceed accordingly and slowly. So this is just a taste of how the principles of this kind of pedagogy come in also to shape and not only the garden, but the pedagogical approach that I mentioned here. It's really beautiful. I encourage you to those of you who are not familiar with permaculture pedagogy, it's very, very inspiring and very helpful to be able to draw from this existing powerful pedagogic setup that has been also developed through various EU programs and codified and passed down and disseminated. This was the structure for us as well, that we were working through the senses and the eyes, the hands, the heart, and the head, and working in order to activate all of these things in each session to the extent that was possible. I won't stay with this, but this is the kind of pedagogic goals we were intending to go through with our sessions. And of course, it was all about flow and structuring our presence together in the garden in terms of sowing and growing and harvesting, and really having a holistic approach to engage the whole body and the senses. So I will now pass on to Katerina, and I will disengage my sharing.
Hi, everyone. Just give me a second.
Good morning, Katerina. Good morning, Stalo.
Good morning. . Hi, my name is Katerina, and I am an art teacher at Apostolos Varnavas Primary School. Today, I would like to share how the Strovolos Living Lab project transformed our urban garden into a place where learning truly took root. First, I would like to briefly explain how we implemented the Strovolos Living Lab project in our school. The project involved two groups of students with 15 children in each group, aged between 9 and 11 years old, as well as two teachers, myself and my colleague Stella Antonil. We visited the urban garden every other week from March until June, and each session lasted approximately 80 minutes. As an art teacher, I quickly realized that the urban garden offered the perfect environment for applying many of the core principles of art education through observation, creativity, exploration, experimentation, and personal expression. The children were able to learn in an active and meaningful way. During our regular visits, the children were encouraged to observe, ask questions, explore, and find answers on their own. Instead of just being told information, they learned by doing and discovering things through real experiences. A key element of our methodology was the use of all 5 senses. By engaging sight, hearing, touch, and taste and smell, the children developed a deeper understanding of their environment while strengthening their observation and critical thinking skills. For this reason, every visit began with a welcome circle where we talked about our previous experiences in the garden. We then did a clapping dance and said a short rhyme to remind us to use our 5 senses. This simple routine helped the children reflect, connect with each other, and get ready to explore the garden with curiosity. Through sight, children observed biodiversity, different plant species, insects, birds, snails, and the changing colors and textures of the garden and the soil. Through hearing, they listened carefully to birds singing, insects buzzing, leaves moving in the wind, and many other natural sounds, developing their concentration and awareness. Through touch, they explored a variety of textures, including soil, leaves, tree bark, and flowers. These hands-on experiences encouraged curiosity and allowed children to build strong connections with nature. Smell also played an important role. The children explored the scents of herbs such as basil, mint, and parsley, as well as flowers and fresh soil. These experiences enriched their learning and encouraged their imagination. Finally, they harvested vegetables and herbs that they had planted and cared for themselves. This helped them appreciate healthy food and understand the work involved in growing it. However, our urban garden was much more than a place for sensory exploration. It became a cross-curriculum learning environment where many areas of the school curriculum came together. One of our favorite activities was building an insect hotel. Before we started, the children learned about pollinating insects and the important role of bees. Then they worked together to build and place the insect hotel in the garden. The garden also encouraged creativity. During our visits, we collected natural materials such as leaves, seeds, flowers, and branches, which we later used to make artwork in our art lessons. Children also became young scientists. They measured the soil temperature in different parts of the garden and compared the results to discover how sunlight and shade affect the soil. Finally, they took part in a simple experiment to see how different types of soil affect the plant growth. Beyond learning about nature and science, the garden helped the children develop important life skills. They learned to work together, be patient, show respect, and take responsibility. They shared ideas, solved problems, and celebrated their successes as a team. The overall response from the children was extremely positive. These visits to the urban garden quickly became one of their favorite activities, and they looked forward to every session with great excitement. The garden provided endless opportunities for discussion, investigation, creativity, and discovery, while helping them connect with nature. In conclusion, the Strovolos Living Lab Urban Garden helped us apply the goals of many school subjects in an enjoyable and effective way. Through sensory activities, creativity, observation, exploration, and hands-on learning, the children gained valuable skills and experiences beyond the classroom. For them, the garden was not just a place where plants grew, but also a place where curiosity, creativity, responsibility, and the love of learning could grow. Thank you, Katerina. Good morning, everyone. My name is Cristal Antoniou. Working with Katerina at the Apostolos Barnabas Primary School, and we had this great opportunity to participate into this program, and I was leading one of the two groups for outdoor learning at the Living Lab. We accumulated so many positive experiences, but today I will be presenting some of those that stood out and impressed us to show how some potential difficulties or challenges turn into positive surprises. We have organized these observations, these surprises, into themes. The first theme that emerged out of our observations is about focus and attention.
Stalo, sorry to interrupt. I don't know if you are showing us some slides, because
yes, I do. Sorry, it's not.
We see the last slide from Katerina.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, that's a minute.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No. We thought that is visible to you as well. How about now?
We can see some slides, but it is the one that you have started, Katerina, with your name, Where Learning Takes Root.
Okay.
I have it ready if you would like me to step in. Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Problem solved.
Now it's perfect. Thank you.
So I decided to name it From Growing Pains to Growth. So from these challenges to how we, to the little surprises and the growth we had through the lens of outdoor education. So I will be presenting what stood out. As I said, the first theme about focus and attention. And as with red color, you can see the challenges, the initial challenges. So it was a novel environment, outdoors, bigger than the classroom, overwhelming space. And we, during the first session, a few students found it difficult to stay focused, simply because of their excitement and the novelty of the environment. However, this changed remarkably and very quickly. By the second visit, the children showed improved concentration, self-regulation, and respect for both the space and the program's routines. Another challenge was the prolonged standing, the physical demands, the heat, the Cyprus heat, the risk of fatigue and low attention. Because, yes, we know from our observations in the classroom that this could be some risks.
but we were equally surprised by the children's level of engagement throughout the entire 80-minute session. In a regular classroom lesson, some students usually ask to leave for the toilet or mention that they are tired. During the outdoor sessions in the garden, however, almost no one asked to leave, drink water, or rest, even on a warm day while standing and working outside. The children were completely absorbed in the activities and remained focused until the end. The second theme that emerged out of our impressions is about collaboration and social dynamics. It impressed us how naturally the students adapted to working collaboratively. The available tools and working space were limited, meaning not all students could work at the same time. Despite this, there were no conflicts or frustrations. The children organized themselves independently by sharing and exchanging tools, taking turns, helping one another, and ensuring everyone had the opportunity to participate. And even one of the students indicated this during our reflection time. Diversity and inclusion formed the third theme of our impression. We were deeply impressed by the response of children who often experience challenges in a traditional classroom setting. Students with autism, ADHD, emotional or learning difficulties, as well as children with limited Greek language skills, were fully engaged and eager to contribute. The garden environment seemed to help many of them feel calm, capable, and included. Reconnecting with nature emerged as the fourth theme of our observations. Many children mentioned during our reflection discussions that it had been a very long time since they had touched soil with their hands. This simple observation was very meaningful and showed how disconnected many children have become from nature in their daily lives. The Living Lab has given them the opportunity to reconnect with natural materials, smells, textures, and living organisms in a direct and memorable way. Another moment that stayed with us involved a child who had expressed intense fear of spiders during the first session and reacted very strongly when encountering insects. By the second visit, the reaction had become significantly milder, almost absent. It seemed that regular contact with nature and gradual exposure helped reduce fear and anxiety connected to the natural environment. One especially memorable moment was when the children harvested and tasted lettuce, onions, tomatoes, and other raw vegetables from the garden themselves. All of them were eager to try it, including children who would normally avoid or complain about eating vegetables in other situations. Because they had planted and cared for the vegetables personally, they felt connected to the process and were excited to taste the result of their work. They even named them. For example, Thomas for the tomato plant. They named the plants they planted themselves. Lastly, the fifth emerged theme of our impressions, entitled From the Garden to Home, was related to the wish of children for extensions at home. The children developed a genuine interest in continuing these experiences beyond the program itself. Several students asked to take plants home and were especially excited about using mycorrhiza in the soil at home after learning about its role in plant growth. Their curiosity extended beyond the activity itself and became something they wanted to apply in their own lives and families. We noticed that all of the 5 presented themes that emerge from our learning journey at the Living Lab are aligned with some of the core principles of outdoor education, which are the experiential learning, strongly related to the concept of learning by doing by John Dewey, the place-based and environmental connection, developing strongly the sense of place and the sense of belonging, Additionally, the principle of holistic development related to the 3H, the heart, the hands and head, was definitely organically applied in our case, demonstrating cognitive, physical, and affective learning outcomes. And lastly, the collaborative and social learning principle was underlying each activity and can be absolutely validated by our own observations. Thank you for your attention. I think Kristaleni would like to wrap it up.
I mean, the material is so rich and we are only just beginning to articulate it. I don't know. There is a lot more to say. I want to just, maybe I can show you. Let me share. There we go. So it's this, you know, it's just, I don't know, the closing reflection might be, you know, nowadays, a lot of things that we used to take for granted, we can no longer do that, especially in our cities. And so let's just leave it at, perhaps regenerative education is not only about growing food, but also about growing attention, responsibility, belonging, ecological understanding, and hope. And we certainly have a lot of that. We hope that we will be able to create more, certainly continue our collaboration, and perhaps grow with more long-term collaborations with other schools. We are also talking about matters of policy. When did the vegetable garden stop being part of the curriculum? What were the reasons? How can we bring this back? And a lot more that we can talk about if you like, if we have time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this amazing presentation. I want to give, because I was also part of this effort, I want to give the credits to you, to Kristaleni and Katerina and Stalo, because you put a lot of work and a lot of effort to prepare the activities. And behind this, there was an additional effort to prepare the soils, to prepare the material. We had also the support from Emanuela Christofi. She is here today. We had the support from the municipality with materials, with soils, with all the equipment required, but it was a very intense effort in short time, and it is for sure it worth all the efforts. At the end, it's something like, yeah, it was very good. I don't have many words. If there are any questions, we have some time. Yes, Leah?
Thank you very much. I really loved your presentation. Just a question, because you mentioned in the end these principles of learning that you apply. Did you before already apply those in your regular teaching, or is this something that you are now developing because you are going to the garden?
Can I just summarize that what we are actually doing, also bringing in Vasilis' own approach as a scientist, which is very, very powerful also. But we are all coming from different approaches. Katerina comes from education through art. Stalo comes from outdoor education, academically, but also practically as as practitioners. And I come from another side as well. I come from education through art, and now also permaculture education. So this is a mixture. This is a new hybrid. It's a new thing, and it fits together perfectly, beautifully, and easily. I don't know if you want to say something more. I mean, I think it's so interesting to talk more about education through art and outdoor education as disciplines.
These are principles we are trying to implement in all of our lessons, but it's a bit difficult in the school environment, in the classroom. So it was a great opportunity to implement these principles, enjoyable and very easy.
Yeah, I agree with Katerina. We have it in our mind, but it's harder to implement in an indoor setting. Or let's put it differently, it's easier when you're outdoors because there it takes place organically and naturally without too much effort. So there was consistency, and that's why we saw the results. If we do it in the classroom, it's fragmented. It's every now and then, according to the conditions that we have. But there, it was on a regular basis. So we saw the results of it.
We didn't emphasize something that Estalo has been pointing out, that really the continuity has been crucial. It wasn't a one-off or twice, or it was regular. It was reinforced in the classroom as well through the ongoing the classes. This is crucial, and this is something that we really need to be I think we intend to focus on going forward. Not like, okay, one-off visits are good to promote and outreach, but the meaningful work happens when we can have the commitment from schools too, and the pedagogues, to have this relationship with the space in this way. And that's why we also need to work that it's part of the curriculum again.
Thank you very much. If
Yeah.
Dimitris, yeah.
Yes, thank you. So I'm also amazed by your presentation. I've been following your work, but it's the first time I've seen the overview. So again, congratulations. We have had, and I'm referring now to all the problems we have been discussing regarding the continuation of the urban garden after the project is over. So with the material and the evidence that you have provided right now, we have a solid case that there's a direct benefit to education, and I think that we have a very good case of attracting attention for continuing even after the project is over. And this is something that we need to discuss more, and I'm very grateful for all the work that you invested in this. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Dimitris. There will be time for further discussion, but I see that Pierre is already here, so I will give him the floor for the last presentation, which is about the project Food City Boost. Pierre.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I will share my screen, and then you can tell me if this is good, if we are in a presentation mode. Is everything good?
We are on PowerPoint mode, and now I think we are okay. Yes, it is good.
Okay, perfect. So maybe there's a bit of lag. My connection is not so good, but let's see. So yeah, I'm introducing basically this Horizon Europe project, Food City Boost, which started in 2024 and which looks at urban agriculture impact and policy development to foster the development of urban agriculture. And actually, what I want to highlight is that there's a diversity of urban agriculture that exists. Actually, there's urban farms, do-it-yourself gardens where everybody has its own allotment, social farms, community parks, zero-acreage vertical farms, inside building, and there's also community gardens where people gather. And all those different types of urban agriculture, they have different impacts that are very different. Social farms have more of a social impact. Zero-acreage vertical farming, they have more of a productive-oriented function and so on. But basically, there's a lack of quantification of what all those different models of urban agriculture provide to society. And they have actually developed those urban agriculture initiatives, but they are still in niches, so they are not really widespread. It's because there's a lot of conditions in our socio-ecological system around our cities that sort of prevent the larger development of urban agriculture. It's basically, for science, the lack of knowledge about the impacts of urban agriculture that cannot really be brought to policymakers. For instance, they don't know so much about the benefits of urban agriculture. So in a way, urban agriculture development is locked. But basically, we can try to change this system, this socio-ecological system, have a new configuration, more knowledge, more markets, more people involved in order to foster the development of urban agriculture and make it more mainstream in a way. So, for instance, there's some policies out there in France that really would like to develop urban agriculture in every neighborhood in France. So, well, that's some form of mainstreaming of urban agriculture. So that's the objective of the project, to provide some knowledge on impact and risk of urban farming types, and to also help policymakers adjust policy and legal frameworks. We also want to develop some tools to help local stakeholders design and assess urban agricultural systems. So we have those three kind of dimensions in our project. And we are organized like this. So we also operate under the principle, let's say, of living labs. So in those 6 cities, Valladolid, Brussels, Almere, Wrocław in Poland, Riga, and Sofia, we have a local NGO or local public institute that act as really local knowledge provider and maintaining a network of stakeholders. And basically, we have a partnership locally. We have those different institutions that I mentioned, where you can see the logo, but we also have a research partner which is being included in the project. So, for instance, in Valladolid, there's this NGO, Entre Tantos, that worked for several years with CSIC, a research institute in Madrid, and together they helped basically craft the food policy plan of Valladolid. And in our project, we have an association which basically manages or has a network of peri-urban regions that kind of allows the exchange of information between those different living labs. So essentially, what the project is trying to do is that we're trying to have a diagnosis of the current situation of urban agriculture. What do the different systems provide in terms of impact? What kind of policies do we have? And then we try to use this to redesign the system, come up with new policies, come up with new forms of urban agriculture, new design that maximize the benefits and minimize the detrimental impacts. And then we use different indicators in order to assess this and then see how we can change the design in order to improve the benefits of urban agriculture. So in a way, we have a diagnosis with the socio-economic impacts, the environmental impacts, and the policy at multi-scale. We try to design potential future context, future socio-ecological and urban context, and also new prototypes of urban agriculture that maximize the good impact. And then we have some tools. So where we do the assessment, we assess, okay, are we improving the carbon footprint of this type of urban agriculture? Are we improving the social cohesion in the neighborhood when we look at a more larger scale on the impact of this? So I want to highlight every kind of element that we have in the project, and also the work of all our different partners. So basically, we have a socio-economic assessment which is being conducted right now. We have had this wheel that shows different dimensions of socio-economic functions: production, economic impact, health and well-being, social cohesion and inclusion, education. And basically, we have collected data, quantitative and qualitative, over 100 urban agriculture initiatives. So they are analyzing the data, but I just want to highlight 2 results that have emerged so far. So you can see basically the diversity of farm types, community gardens, community parks, and some that were mentioned at the beginning. And then 2 indicators: community belonging and empowerment and civil participation. Actually, when we go towards more individual models of urban agriculture, what you can see in terms of community belonging is that you have less and less in a way. maybe it makes sense for you, and I think it does. Actually, it's quite logical, but I was more surprised when it comes to empowerment and civic participation, because what I expected that the social farm would basically perform better than do-it-yourself garden and so on. So that's quite funny, and I think we're digging into the mechanism behind that. Why is there, for instance, less empowerment and civic participation when we are in actually an urban agriculture initiative where there's supposedly more social cohesion, more exchange among people? We also look at environmental impact of urban agriculture initiative. We got data on 35 urban agriculture initiative. We calculate those different environmental indicators. But one which I think is interesting is the climate change. Because we're looking at per kilograms of production, how much carbon emissions are actually produced. And here you can see basically on the y-axis, that's the impact, so the CO2 emissions, and on the x-axis, the production. And it seems there's some kind of relationship where the more you produce per square meter, the less impact you have per kilograms of crop. It makes sense. We make economies of scale, we optimize the productions, but actually, interestingly, there's outliers in this system. For instance, this P1 farm, well, it produces a lot, but it has also a lot of carbon footprint, carbon emissions associated to production. So actually, we're also looking at trying to understand what could drive this impact. And in this P1 farm, actually, we see that, for instance, compared to the P2 farm, well, the emissions that are associated to the infrastructure is much more important. So maybe here, if we were to lower the impact of this farm, there could be some recommendation done on how to decrease the emissions that are linked to the infrastructure in a way. So in our environmental assessment in the project, we're not only looking at carbon footprint and life cycle assessment, but we also try to do some soil assessment, because soil pollution is a big problem for urban agriculture. So we're currently doing some analysis in different sites to see what kind of pollutants we have. And in doing so, we also produced a guide to soil analysis for all urban farmers which is available on the website of the project. We also conducting some biodiversity assessment, counting insect, weeds, birds also, for trying to see if urban agriculture is supporting biodiversities in cities, essentially. All right. Also some policy assessment that we do. Our partners from ZALF and CISIC, they have produced this nice report, I think, that shows how we can best conduct some kind of a policy and governance process in cities to put urban agriculture on the table, essentially. So there's a lot of recommendations. There's one I actually quite like, is that it's creating institutional homes. So basically homes for urban agriculture within municipality. So that's something at city level that can be implemented quickly, of low, medium complexity, but with a high impact. And actually they have several examples of how an urban agricultural office could actually fit within a municipality. And here you see that urban agriculture office actually could be in relation with the education department at the municipality, the environmental management, the waste management, and also the park development department in the municipalities that were screened. And in this policy assessment, we also made some recommendations, visions in our Living Lab. For instance, in Flanders, Brussels, they want to implement a new food strategy. And actually, we think that urban agriculture here, and the stakeholders think as well, can play a role in increasing the diversity in food and agriculture, contributing to circular economy. And they also basically think that bottom-up governance and smaller government would be actually good for a sustainable food strategy in this region. All right, that was for the assessment, and now we're looking forward to what could be done. And we have a work package that does some foresight analysis. So they're actually looking at trends in our urban food systems that could impact urban agriculture. They have analyzed trends and grouped them into social, technical, economic, environmental, and political. I have taken two in the environmental dimension, climate resilient crops, because we know that we suffer from climate change, less precipitation, warmer temperature, and we need new crops actually that will fit for our new climate in cities, and also sponge cities, which is the organization of all different bricks of the urban system to actually try to capture water and decrease the risk of floods in cities. And actually, through this trend analysis, what they did is that actually they grouped trends and produce some scenarios that can be applicable to all the different cities. So, for instance, you have a green scenario where there's more exposure to urban green space, more green lifestyle, and so on, which is considered more sustainable. You have something which is basically a kind of scenario C, which is a degrowth scenario where urban environment has sort of collapsed. There's fragmented local practices that remains. There's less people in cities. And you have also a super technological scenario where drones are playing a role delivering food to people. There's a lot of renewable energy for producing food in vertical farms and so on. All right. So what we do also, we do some designs of urban agriculture. We produced a catalog with a lot of innovations that were basically kind of searched around Europe. And I want to highlight one which I find very interesting, not far away from Amsterdam in Almere, where actually a producer that I think used to have roses or flowers, at least in a greenhouse, basically decided to come up with a new model where instead of producing, he basically put the greenhouse on place and then split it into individual allotment that he rented to people, so under the greenhouse. And then he actually managed to attract a lot of people from a Surinamese background that actually started cultivating exotic species. So you see there's some bananas growing under this greenhouse. So that was an interesting model. And basically capitalizing on these innovations, they also use this and in Wrocław, where they basically produce this kind of created several elements. There was a cooperative, which was basically planned an open air market, and this was planned in synergy with also a large plot for producing some food that would be sold directly in the market. And that was produced under organic principles where people could freely enter. And also they thought about, okay, let's try to use the waste from the neighborhood in order to have a circular system. So that's the kind of things we've been producing in different locations, and we have an interesting team doing this. All right, that was for the design. We are designing and we're also assessing. Actually, something of interest is that we launched a couple of weeks ago a self-assessment tool that can be used by anyone online for free, where you can basically build your own assessment with a large range of indicators produced by the tool, and then you can use that to actually assess your own urban agriculture systems and monitor it basically over time and compare with existing systems and so on. So I really encourage you to have a try at this. That's for free, and you just need to register a profile, and that's it. All right. We not only try to assess at the system level, but we try to see at larger scale what could be the impact of urban agriculture. And actually, I think one of the most interesting results so far we have had is that we looked at the cooling potential of allotment gardens. So actually what you see in these very colorful images, 1 and 2, you see the shape, a polygon with the allotment garden. And actually you can see in blue the reduction in temperature. So actually we have found that allotment gardens, they contribute to about, in average, a decrease of 3 degrees in the neighborhood. And then actually allotment gardens widespread in Europe can cool down the environment, are cooling down the temperature for 4 million inhabitants in Europe. We look at those kind of services, but we also look at food self-sufficiency. So for instance, here, that's just an example of Riga and the current state of the contribution of urban and peri-urban agriculture. So you see that the food self-sufficiency of Riga right now is quite low. Every neighborhood is in yellow. There's very few allotment gardens. Peri-urban agriculture is oriented towards export. But actually, to reorient the system, if you plan for more allotment gardens development and more rooftop agriculture, which was basically mapped with some remote sensing data and analysis of the roof, well, we can actually increase the productions of vegetables and fruits, almost reach out a threshold of about, I think, 20% for the entire city, which is not negligible, I think, when we were talking about food security. Okay, there's a work I wanted to highlight because I think it's interesting for you. That's also conducted by one of my PhD students. Here you have a photo of a map of Amsterdam and a grid every 500 meter of Amsterdam. And there's basically something we are trying to do right now, producing a tool that can help, producing different, very contrasted scenarios of urban agriculture development, essentially. So we have mapped different type of spaces that could be thought for developing urban agriculture. For instance, you have parking in orange, private garden, rooftop. You have also water because there's water in Amsterdam, and there's floating farms already in Amsterdam, even floating urban green space. So that space potentially usable for developing urban agriculture. And actually, something that we did using an analysis from my PhD student, we looked at the probability of where different types of urban agriculture could emerge in Amsterdam. So that's basically a kind of suitability where you see that colors are very dark. It means that the suitability for those locations is very high for different forms of urban agriculture. And basically using that, we try to produce different type of urban agriculture development scenario: green justice, social justice, food production, urban agriculture justice. For instance, what do we mean with green justice? We mean in every neighborhood, so in every of these cells that you see depicted, there should be 300% of urban green space, urban green for the people. And since urban agriculture can contribute to that, basically we looked at the space where urban agriculture could essentially fulfill those kind of functions. And for instance, if you look here in the center, in the historical center, and what it says is that if you want to meet the threshold, you will have to go and have some urban farms on the canals. We also looked at food production. Okay, what would it be if we were to produce, I think, 20% of the food for Amsterdam? Basically, we have to convert large areas that are currently maybe not sufficiently utilized in order to produce some community gardens and also allotment gardens that you can see in blue, basically. So that's what we do in combining kind of spatial analysis, remote sensing a little bit to explore some contrasted scenarios that I think are relevant for policymakers to understand what is the potential in their cities when it comes to urban agriculture development and the impacts that can be fulfilled by this urban agriculture. All right, so I'm coming to an end in this presentation. We're still working on for an additional 18 months to the project with our 20 partners all around Europe. And I think we're looking for potential opportunities to collaborate, exchange ideas, even trying to co-organize workshops with stakeholders. I think that would be super nice in order to maximize the impact. So I would like to thank you very much for inviting me for this seminar. And yes, and please don't hesitate to reach out if you want to know more about what we do, to also have a look at our website where you will be able to find more information, essentially. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pierre, for presenting us this very interesting project. There are some questions in the chat. The first one is from Leah.
Maybe you can stop sharing, Pierre, because now we see a
Yeah.
screen in the stream.
We see
I think
two Pierre and two Vasilis.
Yeah. Sorry.
The first question is, can you highlight how you select the initiatives that you included in your analysis? I imagine you mentioned 100 urban farms for one analysis and 35 for the environmental. So
Yes. Yeah, that's a good question. So basically, the objective was to try to cover as much as possible the diversity in urban agricultural systems across the different cities. And basically, we also built a lot on the existing network of our local partners. So it really mixing the existing population of urban farms, the networks, and what we want. We did not manage to get, for instance, very much. I think we have one vertical farm only in the entire 100 sample of 100 urban agriculture initiatives. That's very difficult. They don't want to give that data. They have no time. So actually, the EU don't want to reward people giving the data, but I think in their case that would have been very useful. So that's basically how we operated. Strong local network, trying to get all the different types, and then networking, showing the impact also that we can have. Because some urban farms, they say that they don't have really quantified impacts to show the municipality the relevance of their activities. So in a way, that's what the project intended to do, selling the fact that, okay, we'll try to quantify the impacts for you. And then that's something you can use to really communicate about your activities and your impacts.
thank you. The second is from Kristaleni. How might we adapt your work about the specific urban garden models and types into something that can be proposed to municipalities? I think you presented some things, but
yeah, no, that's a good question, and I like this. This can be codified into a menu. Yeah, in a way, that could be almost this. What do you want? And that's what we, in a way, intend to do in our scenarios, is that it's not what you want in terms of system, I think, but it's what you want in terms of impacts. Do you want more social cohesion? In that neighborhood, we know that, for instance, social cohesion is very low. We have designed this model to produce some scenarios in Amsterdam. And actually, we're very lucky in Amsterdam because the municipality is collecting a lot of data. So actually, we know where there's problems with social cohesion, where people are feeling more the air pollution. So in a way, based on those needs, we can then make recommendation with some forms of urban agriculture. You need more social cohesion here? Well, you should probably try to propose some urban collective garden there. And that would have also a good impact, for instance, in terms of urban heat island. Or in that region there, actually, you're thinking that there's some food security problem. And okay, maybe that would be good to have some do-it-yourself kind of allotment where people can grow what they need for their own household. So that's a little bit the idea.
Can I add a little something? It seems to me that perhaps we can also project that municipalities, especially, I mean, I can speak about the ones here near me, that they need to be trying out some of these models. You should be trying out all of these models in different places, and they need to have them functional. So if something doesn't work in one location, they don't give up, they try it in another location. And I'm thinking this is important to project and insist on. All of this should be functional in our municipalities, because they say it doesn't work, and then they don't try it again for 10 years. Whereas I think this is important to hammer in, as a point. You don't stop trying.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's never. Yeah, I mean, for everything, I think when you try the first time, it doesn't work, and then we know that unfortunately, urban agriculture is that there's contradictions in the trends of urban agriculture. It seems that since there's a lot of people that encourage it's rising, but we also observe in a lot of municipalities that it's decreasing in terms of number, also because of urbanization. So yeah, that's difficult. But I think that's always something to to put back on the table, say, okay, we are losing urban agriculture, but look, the impacts can be good. So don't you want to try it again? Don't you want to try something different? Yeah.
And another relevant question from Leah on what we are discussing is about the social benefits that are clear, but who should act to make urban agriculture expand in the way that you highlight? There are individual incentives, the municipalities have financial constraints. Do you think that private investors should be also involved? And is
Yeah,
this something that you
they
took into
are in some
account?
in some cases, when we think about the more productive forms of urban agriculture, there are some private investors that put a lot of money on those highly technological farms, which I don't think is always a good investment, because we have experienced some models of those farms that collapsed. And with the rising cost of energy, that will be more and more difficult. So they need to have a good business model in terms of energy production with renewables that maybe are installed with solar panels and wind turbines somewhere. I'm not sure. Yeah, when it comes to community gardens, I think it's or allotment gardens, I think it's I think the municipality cannot really be bypassed. I think they have to be there, and without a support, it's always very difficult. And we observe it because in three of our living labs where it was actually working very well, the municipality is a bit turning down on urban agriculture, and the project is currently a bit suffering to make impacts. In Valladolid, that was the case, where we were super happy, and our NGO involved there, they contributed to the food plan, and now there's municipality, it changes, goes towards more another direction, and suddenly, yeah, no, the urban farms, they are not really positively perceived. So that's something difficult.
Mm-hmm. I have also a question about the analysis, the life cycle assessment that you do in this modeling. What is the boundary, the system boundary? It is to farm cradle to farm gate, or you also consider the distribution to the market? Because when you have local production, you have a benefit. You don't have
Yes.
a lot of traveling.
Yes, that's a good point. I think well, I'm not really involved in that part, but I think it's cradle to farm gate. I think the assumptions on those type of system. Now I also think I'm running a practical with students about a small LCA with urban agriculture comparison with rural agriculture. I think the emissions related to transport would be considered negligible under some systems. I'm not sure about that. I also think that sometimes that would be nice if emissions, for instance, of people involved in urban agriculture is taken into account, because I also think that sometimes participants are driving to urban agriculture initiative, and may not really be taken into account, but that would be interesting to know how much it represents in terms of impacts.
Yeah, I'm telling this because all the data that we have about urban farms, when you express the impact per kilogram, the footprint is higher, but they do not take into account that a lemon must be transported from Chile,
Yeah.
for example, to Athens, and this is something that should be also considered. And there is
Yeah.
one last question, one related to the microclimate. If you showed this data, the question is if you have the data on how urban gardens impact microclimate in Southern Europe. I saw the map, and I had also a question if your satellite images cover also Southern Europe and
Yeah, normally
Siberia,
it
for
does.
example.
Yeah, normally it does. So I could put you in link with our partners in Poland that did this analysis. But basically, they mapped allotment gardens all around Europe. So I think in 682, what they call functional areas, they have assessed the cooling potential of allotment gardens, so they must have evidence for allotment gardens for the southern Europe. Although I think
Yeah.
what they found is that there's more allotment gardens in Northern Europe, in Germany, in the UK, and so on, but they must have also data for Southern Europe. So I can put you in touch with them. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. Now I will give the floor to Leah. We have started the discussion, but
So also welcome to Bawende Sane. Yeah,
Thank you.
we can thank you very much, by the way, Pierre. I know you have to go, so thank you very much for your contribution. Very interesting to learn about your initiative, different from ours, but really I think complementary. So very happy that you could be here. Thank you very much. Welcome to Bawende Sane. So yes, of course, we will be happy to explore how we can maybe work together. So there's contact information on the slides that were presented, so please reach out to us. It has been quite an intense morning,
Thank you.
so I will not take up a lot of your time, but what I would like to do is to go forward a little bit, because we've talked about scaling a little bit, also specifically also Pierre, of course, talked about scaling. And we had very different perspectives. So we started this morning with Valacia talking about the seeds. Then we went to the second presentation was more about how can we include the vulnerable populations. Then we went to Daniel saying, well, what about the future and how about including the smaller farms and the young ones. And then we ended, at least we ended within our project, with the educational perspective. And for each of those cases, I would like to invite the presenters to reflect on how feasible you think it is to scale and what would be needed. Because for each of those interventions, I can imagine that if you want to scale it, there are questions around financial means, questions around staff that have to be involved. And also Castellani mentioned it has to be during, so not just a one-off. What about also maybe resistance? When you're small, then everyone feels you're harmless. But what if you're really scaling? How much resistance do you expect? So if, for example, Valacia, with her example of the indigenous seeds, there's also a very powerful lobbying of the traditional seed companies. So yeah, I would just like to invite you to share your perspective on scaling and from what you now presented. So maybe we just have the same order. So Valacia, can you maybe share some of your insights on the scalability and the hurdles you see and what will be needed to scale the use of indigenous varieties?
Yeah, didn't hear you. Did you refer to me, please?
Yes. So because the overriding topic of the panel would be scaling, but scaling of what, right? So, and we heard very different perspectives of people working within the Feed for Food. And your perspective particularly was on how can we make sure that indigenous seeds are used and indigenous species are used. But so now it's a pilot and everyone is happy, you can do it. But what if you're really going to scale it up and it becomes an important activity? So what kind of challenges do you see to really scale? Not only financially, but maybe also people have to be involved, but also maybe the resistance of a traditional seed system, because we have commercial seed systems. So maybe you can just share your vision about those questions.
Well, my vision is actually to be able to sustainably manage our own gardening and be able to produce the seedlings without depending on external sources. External sources are good to provide, when there's the marketing and everything, but I'm associated in other areas that I'm part of the networking, like in Africa, for example. People they are really of a great need on how to assist and elaborate this kind of efforts in order to sustain the biodiversity. They do have their own way to do the urban gardening, In Europe, we are more informed about this, but based on the audience that I've been, showing things out, they're lacking on some of the fundamentals on how to break dormancy, how to maintain things, or even take it to the next step when they have the product, how to actually collect the seeds and take it for the next year. So sometimes it seems like trivial information, but it's not. It's basic information that we all need to know. For the area that, for the European areas, it seems they're doing it very well. But I've connected with some new agricultural individuals that they're lacking of that information. So even scaling it up, it's going to be very hard communicating the information. Workshops help. Online, it's great what we're doing right now, but I think we need more in-person kind of contact in order to achieve better results and actually, educate them. But based on Cristalena's presentation, reaching out to a variety of audience, this really helps a lot. Transferring the knowledge, because these are future people that they are transferring the knowledge. One more thing, I'm really happy while trying to do this kind of procedure, with the gardening and everything, we came in contact with other gardeners. So we were very happy to inform us that, they were using native species. They were trying to cultivate them by themselves, not just buying them from the market. Buying it from the market is good, but, they were trying to do their own practice, maintaining productivity. So that was great. So I don't know if that answered your question, Leah, but it requires a lot of effort. But in person, hands into action helps a lot.
Great, thank you. Yeah, maybe because you mentioned already the link with Castellani, maybe first move to Castellani. How do you see the sustainability of what you're doing? That's basically and the scalability of what you're doing.
So when you say scaling, what comes to my mind is first the need to temper a little, the need to hold on. The first thing is to hold on. There is this need to hold on to what we've created, what we've regenerated. Literally, we've regenerated a piece of land. So we need. There's this feeling that we need to hold on to this, not to lose it, not to let it go back. But we also need to be able to let go gracefully if this is needed, if this is what the institutions involved need, so that it can be reborn in another time. So this is a fine balance that we need to figure out. If we need to let go, this is at least what I'm working on. But there is also okay. So we've earned this. Let's hold this. And then let's scale it. Let's involve more schools. I think this is in terms of the educational pilot of the Strovolos Living Lab. It's a very attractive pilot, because now we have more schools coming and teachers saying, "Oh, but why are you not doing this with our school? Why only with this school?" So we're like, "Yes, come, let's do this together again." And of course, though, as a educational pilot, this is very adult heavy. Let's say there's many adults. So usually this doesn't happen in classroom settings. So there is a lot of this kind of work and holding together, which is of course natural, and which is what we would like to have in more pedagogical settings and in our schools. But this is intensive, right, in resources and in care and in many ways. So it is really also about changing or promoting a new, different pedagogic culture. This is connected to educational reform. There are elements, so we can touch within educational policy as well, and this is very crucial. But also, like you say, sensitive. So I mean, I can go on. There's a lot to think about. It's gonna be a big answer. Maybe others can come in as well.
Also, just saturate a little bit to Daniel, because Daniel, at the end, Daniel, I hope you're still there. Daniel, you at the end of your presentation, you also mentioned the educational efforts that were going on. The educational efforts to make sure that the young farmers, they get access to kind of exciting new like technologies. So working with more maybe with drones or with AI. Do you see any opportunities for new ways of educating? Would that help? Would that also inspire maybe more the youth in Romania or in Bucharest to get back and have more feeling for agriculture as a way of living? If Daniel still hears us, or someone else from the Bucharest team, maybe. No, I don't think we have a connection. So maybe while we wait for Daniel maybe to come back, I want to turn to Despina, because you had a very inspiring presentation about how to include people with mental disabilities, but also there I saw it was really, it's very intensive. You also mentioned that because the firms also need to be supported when they hire people. So do you see there is a real feasible scalability here, or is it something that will always remain at a kind of a pilot level and needs a lot of financial resources from outside?
Yeah. Well, scaling is not easy, but I think if we create systems and partnerships, it can be more feasible and possible. And projects like Feed for Food, for example, and the living labs that you've created through this project, I think these living labs, this project created opportunities for good practices, for giving opportunities to people like our trainees with disabilities or any other vulnerable group to be involved, to yeah, and I think to make it more inclusive, it has to bring make the people with disabilities or the vulnerable groups a part from the beginning of the designing of these living labs or whatever. Yeah, it needs a lot of funding. That's one big issue for scaling up. It's not impossible, but I think with strengthening the partnerships and continuing projects like this, I think it is possible. Yes. Yes, we've already shown that we did part of, well, yeah, we started from a pilot training and then we've created this enterprise here in our foundation. So it was something that was, from just one small idea, it became a whole enterprise that moves into the public as well. So why not move further up? Yeah.
Okay, well, interesting. Good to hear a positive
Yes.
view on the future. Well, for all the participants, I would like to ask the question, how useful it was. It goes back to Kristalini's question on Pierre's presentation, because of course that project is more about showing how things can be scaled with using different models. Could you see yourself using such a tool or a way of thinking to think about what would be needed for the for our project or for urban agriculture that is also inclusive and regenerative? So I'm not so much referring to this very commercial urban agriculture, but more the social oriented ones. Could you see yourself using such a kind of a tool to reach out to others and say, hey, seems that you could use like this or that model? Just an open question, maybe a too open question. Not sure. I see Kristalini responding in the chat.
It's for the previews. I wanted
Yeah.
to capture it, whatever it was I wanted to, but I think I missed your last prompt.
Yeah, so it was referring to the presentation of Pierre Chopin, because and you already asked a little bit okay, good that we have these different types, and can you more tailor it? And you also answered yes, if you know that this would be required in that like neighborhood, then maybe you should go for that. Can you actually see yourself would this be the most viable way forward to have? So I'm not talking about this very commercial urban agriculture, the vertical farming, but could you see his way of moving and more project like this as a way to actually go and have more of these initiatives in the future? So not specifically only to you, Castellani, but you had the first question on this, so maybe others would also like to jump in and see if this would work also for us as Feed for Food.
Yeah, shall I try?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
So I think it's related to what I was trying to say. I think for us, it has to be different models working at the same time to see what works. It really has to be fluid, and of course, fluidity isn't easy when you have to do with the municipalities and schools. Also, fluidity is things had to be clear, but we need to have different aspects so that while trust is developing around until we have a win in one, we can work of another. So I think this is important in terms of what we can apply as models. But you were asking specifically not about the commercial, but you mean the educational, the pedagogic work?
Yeah, and the social, the inclusiveness, because those really commercial ones, they don't really care about inclusivity neither, or let's say using it in a learning way. It's only about producing. And so I think that as we are here, our community, so to speak, is interested. Of course, we need to produce something, but we also need, like you also ended your presentation, we want to produce more. We want to leave more, not only vegetables, but also a learning experience, and to have people feeling included and whole. So in that sense, I think some of the models that he presented were very good, and some of them are maybe not so suited for what we want to achieve. So it's more like, how can you see yourself think, oh, this is something I can use, or is this something that is just too far off and maybe too high over, or can we connect? That would be more the question. Can we connect to it? I also see Despina nodding, so maybe yeah.
Yes, I'm nodding because from my experience, and I agree with you, producing is more, it's not inclusive, just, I think projects like these help. And you have very good initiative here. And I don't know, are you thinking of taking it a step further? Maybe, yeah. Yes, so I think this project like this, with collaboration with many different scientific and not organizations, each one has a different input, and I think it helps. Just my suggestion: involve the people that you want to include from the beginning. Yes, into the process of creating it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a very wise lesson that we always tell ourselves, and then it's very hard to do it. So very happy
Yes.
to have people like you and Kristalini and the others on board to also help us in doing that effectively, because it's easy said and hard to be doing it.
Yes,
So
I understand.
I think those are
Yeah, if you can.
wonderful. So like last words almost to end. Valencia, please. I see your hand.
Yes, I want to add a little bit something. I guess maybe everybody has that in our mind, but maybe hasn't been stated yet. So it's very important to find the motive. It's very hard when you work with humans. I don't know sometimes what I really want to do. So convincing them to be part of this great effort, it's really requires a lot of love for what you do, a lot of effort, a lot of volunteer work, and a lot of extra outreach, which doesn't pay off, but it does pay off when you do transfer the knowledge eventually. Keeping the interest though, it's very hard. Because once you're there, okay, you say, I've seen it, done this, let me go do something else. And when you're dealing with different ages, then it's really even younger kids, then it's hard. Elementary school is the easiest for me because they're always into nature. So it's really great trying to work this at this initial stage in our kids' lives and then see how that progresses. So what they're doing with, vulnerable humans, groups of us, we're all vulnerable. As far as we find our motivation and our aim and what we're actually seeking. Once they see the benefit, the skills that they gain, the production they can achieve, and maybe the ability to help others, if this is in their nature, then most likely this is going to scale up. Like Cristalenia said, the one school said, why didn't you include us? So it's like a domino thing that one attracts the other. Once a good work starts, then everybody wants to follow. Following it with a greater scale, it's a little bit more effort, more heart, but eventually it can be done, I think.
Thank you very much. I really loved your sentence. We are all vulnerable. It's not like we teaching them like, oh, we are here and they are there. So I think that will be wonderful last words. We are all vulnerable. We all share one world. We all share one village or one community or even one garden. So let's try indeed to do our best to really treat others as equals and learn from each other and create communities there. Thank you very much. Thank you very much all for being here and sharing and being part of this amazing journey. So thank you very much and enjoy, well, afternoons, mornings, evenings, wherever you are in the world. Thank you.
Weekends that
Hope to
are
see you
coming up.
again.
Cheers from Greece. Enjoy, everybody.
Thank you very much.
See
Thank you
you.
very much, all. See you.